Peeking. Quite possibly the single most important topic in Valorant. If your peeks are bad, even with good aim and good decision making, the chances of you losing any given fight are surprisingly high. And that's why it's essential to learn proper peeking technique. If you don't already know me, I'm Zapper, and most people call me the Immortal 3 Yapper. Just a heads up though, this video is pretty in depth, but if you're struggling in ranked and looking to learn something new, then you're in the right place. To start things off, we'll be taking a look at my most recent competitive match on Split, where I go 16, 8, and 9 on Sage. For each round, I'll be giving some context and then playing the clip. My goal for you is to try and guess which peeking technique I will be using and why. After each clip, I'll be explaining what went through my head during the play, and I even have a cool bonus tip for you at the end if you're still watching. My team is getting rushed down on A, and I'm prepared to rotate. But then they start taking Heaven, and I'm scared that they might go through Vent to B. So I decided to hold down Vent from a pretty strong position, I'd like to say, but just take a look at how it turns out.
On me, I'm not ulting. There's like 2 ramp.
Very Heaven there.
Go up Heaven.
Nice.
Nice.
Top, one mid.
Nice.
So even though I went down right here, I was able to pick off 3 enemies and turn it from a numbers disadvantage into a numbers advantage, which actually went along and helped us win the entire round, which was very important. One mistake I did make here was not turning around fast enough. I did turn around and I was able to pick him off, but if I got the pick a little bit earlier, I might have been able to fight this guy over here. Also, during this fight, I was making sure to stay close to this far wall. That way I had maximum angle advantage for this fight coming in. If I want to peek out, I have the best chances. And because of my positioning, I was able to get a free kill on the Jet as he came up. I was able to re-peek out, get the raise as he was coming here. And then even over here, I make sure to stay by the far wall so that when I'm fighting the Cypher mid, I can close peek him and I can kill him without having a major disadvantage. And right here, I was about to do the same thing, but they were already too far up and they killed me. So right here, we're stacked 4 towards B side, and I know they're pushing up mid right now. I'm still by myself and my clove isn't with me yet, so I want to buy a little bit of time, but overall, we just want to keep control of the space as best we can and try to get some picks without dying.
One more B heaven.
Out the box.
One enemy remaining.
Good.
And then clove
One
goes
HP.
down, but the Jet finishes off everyone. So right here, it's the same exact concept as earlier. I'm playing towards the back wall to maximize my angle advantage, and then my peeks are a lot easier. When I actually peek out and fight this guy, it's way easier to shoot him. Obviously, I want to keep using A and D in between my shots, keep my strafes, make myself harder target. But because I'm on this back wall, it's going to give me a lot more time to aim and shoot when I do peek him. Same thing with the Cypher over here. When he peeks, I'm able to peek him from the back wall, and it really just gives me the best odds of winning this fight. Peeking the back wall is not always the best solution, but if you're trying to minimize the angles you're exposed to and you're trying to go for picks, it is very good to peek like this. Later on in this video, I'll be covering when it's actually bad to peek like this and when you should actually peek in another way. This clip is going to be your classic A take. We just have 5 here. We're going to push out and try to take site, get bombed down, you know, see what happens. My team pushes up pretty far and I definitely go up to trade them. This is a pretty simple round. It's just a 5-man A take. What's important here are my peeks and the strategy behind them. So yeah, just take a look at this round.
Smoke. You should go. Ramp. Nice.
Plant the spike, wings. Reloading.
I can flash you spawn. Don't peek.
Dizzy's up top. Dizzy has target.
Wow.
Train harder.
Damn.
One enemy remaining. Do not fight.
Oh my god.
Hey, how do you get there?
Shit, you're crazy.
So this round was pretty simple. Usually I would wall this off because I am playing Sage, but because my team was pushing up here, I actually wanted to come up and help trade them, right? So he's fighting spawn, and if both my teammates die, I want to make sure we don't just like lose the round because of that. So I come up to trade them. But similar to earlier, I don't want to be peeking like this. I wanted to make sure I was a little bit farther from the wall before peeking out. Just like that, and it's an easy kill. I'd say probably 80 to 90% of the time you should be peeking from farther away from the angle than you should be peeking from closer to the angle. There is a time and a place for peeking close. It's just less frequent than you might think. And then after getting that first kill, we already had bomb down. It was planning for everywhere, so I wanted to fall back to main because it's better to play from main because you can either peek like this or I can wrap up heaven and fight like that if it does go south. But I heard the Rays jump over the trip, so again, played far wall, and since I was walk peeking out, I wanted to make sure I was far so I could get the easy frag. In this clip, my team's all taking mid here. We already got picked off one of us, so it's just going to be a 5-man take, B heaven. But yeah.
Barrier created. Good attempt. Reloading.
Multi into spawn. Or into sight.
Shot red.
Hell.
Eliminate.
Gotcha, fun. My turn.
Your duty is not over. One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Your tactics fail. Attackers win.
But yeah, this is the same thing. Walled off vent, so we could take this space right here. I made sure I was playing a little bit away from the wall so I could get the trade a little bit easier. Then we pushed up here. We're fighting this space. And then we knew there was one down hell right here. So instead of coming close like this and fighting like this, which exposed me to everything, I play a little bit farther back over here so I can like fight this a little easier. Right? And then after I get this kill, I get res, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back here, res this guy. But now I know the jet's probably up here. I don't know exactly where he's at, and I have to get sight with my team. So instead of taking my time and clearing each individual angle from the far wall like earlier, I came close, and this is the perfect example that I was talking about. I used the close wall to wide swing out, and then I was able to get the kill super easily because of this. And so that brings me into the deeper topic, right? So when is it good to peek from the far wall? When is it good to peek from the close wall? And how do you do each of them, right? So honestly, it's a lot simpler than you might think. If you're gonna peek close wall, it's important that you go wider. And there's a really easy reason for this, and it's quite simply just because of angle advantage. If you peek close like this, the enemy is gonna see you first, and the peeker's advantage is pretty much completely negated. It's just going to be a super easy kill. They can hold their crosshair here. It doesn't really matter. They can just kill you extremely easily. Where if you're peeking close from the far wall, you can actually isolate the angles and still get a clean kill off. You're going to be a smaller target. You're still going to have peeker's advantage. And you're going to be able to isolate the angles a lot better because you're farther from the wall. The only downside to peeking far wall is your movement speed is going to be slower on the enemy's screen. Which is why when you come close, it's actually better to wide swing past the enemy's crosshair, because the one benefit of being close to the wall is going to be your extra move speed. Because you're closer to the enemy on their screen, you're going to be moving faster. Simple rule of thumb, if you're on the far wall, you can clear angles a little bit slower and take your time clearing each individual angle. Try not to overexpose. So if you want to fight this guy, and then fight this guy afterwards. Where if you're close, you want to wide swing out. Which brings me to why close peeks aren't always that good, is because you have to expose yourself to several angles, which can get you killed a lot of the time. The reason why I wide swung here is because they only had one person I could possibly be fighting. So I could wide swing out, get the free kill, and I don't risk fighting all of these different angles at the same time. If they still had 4 people alive, I probably would fight from farther back here and clear the individual angles to isolate the fights. And then I would come down, take sight, fight these angles from far back, come over here. Oh, there's one left, he's B main. Maybe I'll come close, wide swing out on him, get the frag. Something like that, right? So you have to get creative with it. The main point of this video is far back wall, good for 90% of your fights. You should be using that to clear angles safely and get yourself some free kills, get some nice trades. And close wall is really good for wide swinging and closing out fights, really committing for big fights, especially when you know that there's not very many people holding you. And now that you understand like peeking from far wall versus close wall, understanding that can also help us understand holding angles as well. Whether you should hold from close wall or hold from back wall. Usually, holding from farther away is better because of the extra angle advantage. Plus, it makes you a smaller target, and the enemy on your screen will be moving slower, which are all good things, good benefits. There are situations, for example, where you should be holding close to the wall, and you do this in order to make the enemy bigger on your screen. Since you're closer to them, the target will be bigger. And so I'd say 90% of the time, if you want to hold an angle, you should do it from as far away as possible. And then maybe 10% of the time, if they're not expecting you, like for this example, if they're not expecting you to hold this angle, you could hold right here. And when they peek out, they're going to be a huge target on your screen. They're going to be running like this. And then because they're a little bigger, you can kill them really fast. You can just react and shoot, right? Where if you're holding this from far back, not only are you exposed to like so many more angles, but they might be predicting you a little easier. It also might be a little bit harder to hit the shot because it's going to be a little bit smaller of a target. Obviously, this isn't that drastic of an example, but every little pixel on your screen does make a difference. I'll be making future peeking guides that go more in depth on information gathering and things like that. But this is what I would say is the most important to cover in terms of like gunfighting. The gunfighting peaks, right? Peek far wall to clear space more safely, and then peek close wall fast to put some pressure on the enemy, throw off crosshair placement, right? It's a very simple topic. It's very easy to understand. If you're far wall, you can peek closer, and if you're close wall, you can peek wider. And that's the best way to do it. It's not the only way to do it, but on average, if you're doing it like this every time, you're gonna have the best results. You want to use your own judgment, obviously, and fine-tune it, you might say, to find the best solutions for you in niche scenarios. But if you really have no idea what you're doing, this is a good start. Wide swing close angles and close peek far angles, right? And that's just a good start. So keep that in mind in your future games. Try it out and let me know what you think.